coming in. Welcome to the May Transportation Committee meeting. Roberta, did you want to start with the item number 1? Roberta Seema, Chair of CB7.
We could. Do you want to do other business first?
Yeah, I prefer to leave if
Because
we
you
go
have
very
people
late
here.
tonight and people are here. Yeah,
Okay.
we should
That's
address
what
the
you
issues
wanted to
where
do
people are here.
I do, but I don't think it's fair.
Okay, so we want to move right to item 3 then? We need
Yeah.
a minute. No, we're skipping that.
But we need
We need some. Is that going to record everything?
Yeah, it's recording. I'll type up notes too if you want.
If you could.
Yeah.
Is it possibly we could do a rotation on that? Like have something set out that's,
what some of the committees do is they assign a person each month, and then
We have tried to do that, and several people have said they cannot do minutes. And I don't want to shine a light on that right now, but that's what we've tried to do. We tried to rotate. We don't want to be onerous on any one person, obviously.
right.
But there's been an occasion when we were co-chairs, that Dan would have to do it or I would have to do it, and that's no good if we're leaving.
No, it's hard to lead a meeting.
It's a little hard.
Hard to lead a meeting and pick them.
A little tough. So let's go to item 3, which is the secondary. This is the second time we're going to hear this, but you may recall that the secondary street naming for Ponzi B. Hillman was originally suggested for 97th Street for a variety of reasons, including the fact that she worked at Project Find, and those folks are very, and lived in the 70s. We had suggested that the item be moved to the northwest corner of 71st and Columbus, which is close to Project Find, and Project Find was thrilled with that idea. Is there anybody here to speak on that item? 2 people?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I think everybody got the letter from
Yes.
the assembly member today. Obviously, Linda fully supports this. She was a civil rights, advocate for teachers.
Gus, can you just give your name for the minutes, please?
Sure. Gus Ibsen from Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal's office. Advocate for a whole slew of issues during a period in America where we sorely needed advocacy on all of these issues. She found home in the Upper West Side for 40 years. I think the placement on 71st, given proximity to Hargrave, is only fitting. I know there are people here who probably knew her far better than I did from my brief reading, so I can let them speak, but I just wanted to convey the Assembly members' wholehearted support for this naming.
And we did have a 25 or 30 minute
But I know it's also come up before.
work last month.
Yeah.
And
Suzanne, who knew Ponzi better than me, can elaborate.
well, I know the daughter who cannot be here tonight, but in all the years, and I know a lot of people here, all the years that I've worked on issues in this community, I've never had something so easy that people do not wait to write letters of support. I should find, you know the letters there, that Hellman, even the restaurant Toulouse is right on the corner. So I'm very excited about this.
And Suzanne, what is your last name?
Jacob's son.
Any other,
Sure, my name is Jim Clines. I was here last month. I'm chairman of Manhattan Community Board 8, but I come to you as a private person, and I'm just here to support the street naming as well. I do remember reading in the letter from former Councilman Alan Gerson the last time. Most importantly, the takeaway that I have is that she was a teacher, and I think it's great to be able to co-name a street after a public school teacher. So thank you very much.
Rich?
I object not in any way because of the person, but I object to all street namings because, for one, I don't think it's what this committee should be doing. I think we should be focused on the epidemic of injuries in the neighborhood and fatalities. And second, I think in that light of injuries and fatalities, creating distractions by street signs just makes the problem worse, especially at a corner like this that is one of our worst corners. So while I don't in any way mean to disparage any person who's up for a street naming, and I fully support the idea that the community recognize important members of the community, I think it should be done in a different way other than street namings, which is why I'll be voting against it.
We spend a lot of time discussing street namings, and I think one of the reasons we spend so much time is we have literally absolutely no standards. I think we should consider some objective standards. For example, unless there's 200 signatures from the street, from residents of the street that the renaming is proposed for, we don't even consider it. It's a bar to be going on the agenda. It would cut down the amount of time we spend discussing these things, and would also show that there's some community support before we discuss it. Yep.
A few years ago, we did come up with a suggested guideline.
I remember.
You and I did.
Ken and I did it. Let's see if we could, one of us maybe.
That would be helpful.
I remember one of the criteria.
Well, why don't we
was
not
the-
discuss it now, but maybe you could put it on your June meeting and Ken and I can look through old computer files and see if we could.
That would be very helpful. Any standards would be helpful, but I think
But then you
having,
could have a discussion, you know, if you had
right.
something, then you could just have a real discussion
But I
of
just
it.
wanted to add that to have one prerequisite to even getting on the agenda, like 200 signatures, would really save us a lot of time.
But we did have,
We
So,
did have some.
I would just
Okay.
table it tonight.
We'll table it for next
Howard,
month.
so in several instances where we have had secondary street namings, it has been at the suggestion of an elected official. Does that
That's for next
obviate
month.
the need for?
We'll discuss that next month.
That'll be part of the discussion.
Yeah, that's
Do you
part
have
of the
a
discussion.
resolution?
Renaming resolution.
Well,
Ken?
I just wanted to ask the representative, not the representative, the person from Community Board 8, do you have standards on your board for street namings, guidelines, anything?
Nothing written in stone, no.
Okay. Because I'm also going to vote against this, and no disrespect to the Ponzi family, and I just think there are lots of deserving people who could have a street named after them, and in a way it's sort of first come, first served, and whoever gets to us first gets the street, and I actually haven't heard of a real compelling case in this case. Somebody, and there are lots of public school teachers, there are lots of people who were fighting for civil rights in this community. So.
I have a totally different take. And my take is that communities really bond around who lives there, who's done good things for them, and who are part of the fabric of the community. And to deny acknowledging somebody who's had an impact on their community and on the greater area, to me, is antithetical to who we are and what we should be doing as a board. I really think that it's important to recognize the history of our neighborhood, the people who contribute to the history of our neighborhood. And I just think that overall, it gives character and fleshes out the community to people who may not know it. They may say, hey, wonder who this person is, and maybe they'll Google her, and maybe they'll learn something.
which is why we had a project to put every one of our secondarily named streets on the CB7 website, so folks would know who these people were.
Well, maybe that's a good job for you, John. But,
You know, but
do you have a motion on?
We haven't had a
Mark's
motion yet.
waving his hand over there.
Is there a motion?
Oh, Mark, sorry, Mark. didn't
Thanks.
you?
Mickey said most of what I wanted to say, so I'll just add that it's a good problem to have when you have a surfeit of people whose extraordinary accomplishments are worthy of recognition. The thing that really puts me over the top here is not so much the one or the other of Ms. Hillman's accomplishments in civil rights and union organizing and so forth. one that really puts me over the top is one that I would equate with Frederick Douglass, who after a career as an abolitionist, then joined the women's suffrage movement. And I was very moved to read that Ms. Hillman also was participant in and an advocate for the plight of Soviet Jewry in the 1970s, which is when I was in college and when these things were coming to a head. So someone who reaches out beyond even what might be considered her own sphere of influence to lend her name to other important issues is somebody I think that would, like, whatever the objective criteria that y'all come up with, I think that's a good idea. I think that would be putting over the top for
Did you
that.
say y'all?
I heard it.
I heard it too.
You must be.
But something goes on in Texas.
I hear a
I'd like to make a motion to name the street for Ponzi Hillman as has been brought to us and proposed. Thank you. And that,
I'll second.
I'm asking for second. Okay.
I haven't, I thought we actually just had a discussion about tabling.
No, we tabled the guidelines.
The
We didn't
guidelines.
table
Okay.
Ponzi.
Because, okay, because,
But the motion,
so second, so conversation, now, right?
no, we vote.
You got it.
Absolutely.
No, there's not supposed to be any debate till there is a motion.
Okay.
Sorry, I kind of snapped at you there. There's no need for me to snap at you.
I didn't really take it that
Oh,
way.
A
good.
little early for snap.
I know, I don't usually snap till 9 or so.
No, you'll have plenty of time.
No, I'm snapping only.
Well, now you can't snap it about home. You can't snap till 9:30.
So here we go. There are two street names on the agenda tonight, and I'm not familiar with either of these very deserving people.
Did you miss last month's meeting?
Yeah.
You did, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was a really long
There was a long,
presentation.
quite
Yeah.
wonderful presentation.
Most of us know Maggie Payton, I must say.
Yes.
Well, I just said that I
Well, we
did
can
not know her.
explain,
Not
when we
that I
get to
don't
Maggie,
know
we
of
can
her.
tell you who she is.
Yes.
So go
But
on.
there's,
So, but didn't I see a bunch of emails today saying that the location of the street naming is very problematic?
That was for the
That's
magnet
for
table,
this one, not for this one.
not this one.
Not for the.
I know, so I'm going to feel very guilty if I vote for one and against the other simply based on location.
It's not based on location, there's a host of other things, but feel free to
But
vote
we're
any way you
not
choose.
standard, So I don't know what's standard.
Well, let's discuss and vote on the merits.
you want to call it?
All the questions.
All right.
All those in favor of the Ponzi, what's
Hillman.
Nancy B. Hillman,
Ponzi B.
for the
Hillman?
northwest corner of 71 and Columbus.
All those in favor? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? 2. All those abstaining? 2.
The motion
Fails.
carries. No, it
No,
carries.
that's
No.
not carried.
4-2 to pass.
Can I make a question? Can we request that this comes back to us when we have standards that we can vote upon it on?
I will tell you,
That's
we're
the only
definitely
reason I'm
putting
abstaining.
standards on the agenda for next month.
You know.
I would ask
No.
them to tie vote in this case, that, and given the
Abstain is the name.
immense support from the
Yeah,
community
abstain.
that's shown up here, that we ask that the chairs of this committee or the chair of our board, Roberta,
Excuse me?
and we ask the chair of our board to please move this and bring this up for a full, at the full board.
Yeah, I would,
For everyone, given the immense public support that we've seen.
Yeah, that was,
We didn't record the,
And- maybe we have.
Yeah, the non-committee has not voted.
Could the non-committee member, oh, we have
Could we have
another,
a new
wait,
committee
But-
member?
we have a new committee member.
it's too late.
Hey,
It's not too late.
You could-
The votes happened.
Can we
Yeah.
revote this?
You can't revote it.
Welcome.
You make another.
I'll make,
Oh,
I'll make a
here's how you
second motion. We need your input. We do.
we're talking about the Ponzi B. Hillman secondary street naming for northwest 71 in Columbus. Last month, her daughter and all of the folks that turned out, and there's been several emails in support. Don't want to influence your vote in any way.
Oh, come on. We had a whole discussion. We had a split vote. It didn't pass.
So, I,
The votes we came out for,
4, 2, 2.
2 opposed, and 2 abstaining.
So it fails.
I can tell you, I understand that because the standards, we're discussing standards. I've already said that.
Yeah, it's a little
What do
odd to
parliamentary
impose
rules say
standards on
about
this.
revoking
I can bring it up, if you don't want to revote, I can bring it up. to the full board.
You have that right.
Yes,
All right, I'll bring it up to the full board, why don't you move to item 4?
Item 4.
So just for the clarity of the audience, can you just restate what you just said?
I am going to bring up this secondary street naming on the northwest corner of Columbus Avenue and West 71st Street in honor of Miss Ponzi B. Hillman at the full board, at which time it will be reported
Without a committee vote.
that the committee, that
Clarify
it failed the committee vote. Can you call, Howard, can you now call the
Can we do
non-committee,
a revote?
And non-committee board members?
non-committee
all
board
those in
members?
favor?
Just want to make a
Can we do?
Two, all those opposed?
I ain't talking about.
Any abstaining?
There's nobody else.
It's 2-0-0.
I think Gus wants to make a comment.
Yeah, Gus, sorry.
Yeah, I feel I may have skimmed in my opening remarks just a little bit. I didn't realize that, I guess the discussion of street naming policy outstanding. I wanted to note one additional thing about her legacy and her appropriateness. The issue of school segregation, which is one that obviously the Upper West Side and New York City at large continues to grapple with decades later. Ponzi Hillman was an incredible leader and advocate on this issue. 9 years after Brown versus Board of Education decision was reached in 1954, she organized dozens of public school teachers from around the country to go into a county in Virginia and teach at schools that had been locked up because the schools were not desegregated, and the Virginia county officials did not want to desegregate the schools. Obviously, it doesn't have necessarily significance to the Upper West Side or West 71st Street, but I think that her legacy and her appropriateness is something that we should strive to serve as an emblem and as a role model for all young kids, all public teachers, and I think that should be noted just for the record.
Isaac?
Look, I've been on this board for like almost 5-6 years. This particular committee, different committee. It's a travesty that we can't vote for this lady. And I've been on here, we voted for people who I didn't even feel needed to be voted, but you put them on anyway, with plaques and everything. Here's a lady with outstanding contribution to this city. For what she has done. And I'm sorry that I was late. We can't get a revote. I mean, it's sad. It's just, let me finish.
Because we moved the item up, so throw it.
Isaac, finish, please.
I can read.
Well, hold on.
Isaac, finish.
I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, it's sad. We voted for Miles Davis, who was on the corner standing up for him. We voted for some other people. I can't think of their names offhand, and put a plaque on the corner. You come here and can't vote for this person for her outstanding contribution who's been here in New York, in schools and everything. I mean, it's just a sad case.
What you missed was they're not saying it's because of her, they're saying because there's no standards or there's.
There were no standards.
I know, but this is
There were
the
no
other argument.
standards. I heard every
I
last.
made the motion.
I remember
to
when the
accept.
standards first came up.
To do the right thing. If you want to talk about standards,
They should be separate from these.
they should be separate from these,
which is what I'm
absolutely,
saying.
they really should. Yeah.
Standards never came.
There's some reason why it won't be a valid.
When is the
Standards
vote?
never came
Appropriate
into.
now.
Marissa, when is the
Why
city,
not?
excuse me, time out, people. Marissa, when does the city council vote on the street namings?
You know, they only do it 2 times per year.
Yeah, do you know?
And so I'm not
I think it's
sure,
June, actually.
I'm not sure when the next one is.
Gail Brewer would be definitely.
So
first.
if we vote at the June 6th meeting, will that be in time for the council?
Let this get to Gail Brewer. She'll be definitely upset.
Excuse me.
I can confirm the date for you and get back to you tomorrow.
I wasn't finishing.
Okay,
Gail,
if-
cut off.
We can,
Got a bad habit of people cutting people off. and
I
somebody-
just wanted to find out.
Why can't there be a revote? I'm sorry.
And
Why can't there be a revote? Because
Why
it was moved
We
up.
can vote on the
and
full
then-
board. We'll be able to vote on the full board.
But they're wondering because it was number 4 on the agenda, so they got here, you know, in time for it to be a number 4. Like, I'm not supposed to be until 7:45. I just said that.
This is number 3.
Or, okay,
Well, why
3, but it was the
did
first one.
That's the first, exactly.
I don't know.
Or can I make a new motion?
Totally against the try. I'm not.
Can I make a new motion?
I've never seen it.
It's not gonna pass until the full board, any,
There needs
if
to be a
people,
revote.
just for some clarification here. The, any resolution that a committee makes does not become a resolution until.
We know that, but we still
But
need
the
to
audience,
vote.
excuse me, I think people in the audience don't know it. So even if we voted for something tonight, it doesn't become a community board
But
action.
put his vote on the record.
It carries weight if you're.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, Lord.
Have the full board understate that there were members that came in late.
Should have a revote.
Yeah, why
There
did
should
you
be-
Revote.
Did you mention that it was moved up on the agenda?
We've done it before.
I mean, there's actually nothing on the particular agenda that specifies a time something will come up, but it was down the thing where it was expected we would be discussing the other items first, you know.
I'm in favor of a revote. Let's just
Yeah, just
revote.
revote.
All-
No problem.
And the reason we're revoting, just for the record, is because we went out of order. So I think a revote is important. All those in
Wait,
favor?
Right.
Lillian, what's?
No, we're voting on Ponzi,
B. Hillman.
Hansi
B.
Hillman's
Hillman.
naming.
yes.
And
Well,
the question is, do we agree to name one of the others?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, I did a lot of thinking about this, and was not expecting to walk in on this. But my honest feeling, because we've been through this for so many times, I think that we need to develop a definite time. I know some folks are looking at me. I think we definitely need to develop a definite time and a definite procedure. She obviously did a fantastic job. But what's happening every single time we come up to a situation such as that, the rules change. It's not fair to other people with the naming or the placking or otherwise. This particular group needs to work on saying, this is what you need to do to present this. This is what you need to do to present it to the community. This is the time that is involved with this, okay? And let it be consistent so people don't think that we're changing the rules in between.
Should we have two revotes, one just with Isaac and then one with Lillian?
Lillian,
But we do have a sense of humor at this point.
what I think is.
Speak for yourself.
I agree with you. And this family did come and make a very strong and beautiful presentation.
Absolutely, and I
So the
read it.
question really is, will we name this corner for her? I'm re-proposing my motion.
And I'm calling the question, next month we will discuss the standards.
Next
We
month we're
don't
gonna
have time for it tonight. So, if you-
But Lillian doesn't know that. What Lillian is.
right, that's what I'm telling Lillian, we've decided to discuss standards. We don't have time for them tonight. Next month, it's gonna be at the top of the agenda, standards for secondary and street naming. But tonight, we have to vote on this issue without those standards, the benefit of those
Then-
standards.
If you don't mind very much, if I can do this here, I'll abstain. Because I have felt very, very strongly about this for many, many years.
I abstain too.
All right.
So right now, the revote is called.
Okay, all those in favor?
Drew, you can't
1,
vote.
2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 2. All those abstaining? 3.
I
Oh
will
my
bring it
God.
to the full board as originally planned.
It's the same
You know,
number.
I have to just, I would like to make a suggestion.
And you know,
Right,
Right, I would like to make a suggestion for the record.
Right.
Excuse me,
No,
please.
excuse me, I'm not a disgrace.
Yes, you are.
No, you
Lillian.
come on.
Whoa,
Don't engage her.
we don't need to do that.
Don't do that.
You know,
Don't do that.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion.
It wasn't nice of
Don't do that.
No, it wasn't.
It was-
And then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, I would just like to make an objection.
We had so much fun with this one.
Yes, I know. My objection is for the record that we are conflating two issues and that is not fair to the family who's hoping to name the corner, and it's not fair to people going forward who want to have, a street name because we don't have standards. It's unfair to, and I would like that in the record, that I strongly believe that we've conflated two issues when they should be separate issues. And instead, we're hurting a family with a very worthy person in their family.
For the record, next month, top of the agenda.
And that's my
And-
objection, and I'd like
Okay.
to hear, thank you.
Following on that, I think that depending on how this goes with full board, that from what I've heard tonight, Ponzi Hillman seems like a fabulous member of the community. I think we should do something for her. And if we come up with a standard that means that it's not a street naming, we need to do something else for people. But
I think,
Okay.
go on with reading.
We're gonna, because we had so much fun with that one,
No,
we're gonna move to, the proposal for the secondary, naming, for Maggie Page. 97th Street. I think we probably have a few speakers here on that one. Eric, you want to go?
At the risk of sounding a bit rude, we have a very big agenda tonight, so if we can keep all of the statements as short as possible.
Sure.
And your last name?
So my name is Eric, last name is Cuello, Cuello. I'm from the office of Councilmember Mark Levine, who's bringing this to the board. So we are hoping to see a street call naming for Maggie Payton. Maggie Payton, as many of you have already said that you know, but for decades has worked tirelessly on the Upper West Side. She worked for 4 different Manhattan Borough presidents. She was founder, co-founder of numerous organizations in the neighborhood, and Free Democrats and others, the Bella Azza Foundation as well. So we believe, based on her record, as well as being the Tenant Association president for Park West Village, that she deserves to have the northwest corner of 97th Street co-named in her honor.
Okay, are there any other?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, I had sent it via email earlier, so hopefully it's been distributed, but there was also a letter of support that was submitted by Borough President Gail Brewer as well.
And I'm sure you're aware, Eric, there's been a host of emails in opposition as well from residents and association there.
And I'd like to address it as well.
I think Penny has distributed them to everybody.
It's not about her.
No, it's certainly not about, it's, yeah,
It's the same thing.
it's absolutely not about her.
Not the person at all, it's the location of the sign.
Yeah.
It should be put in standards.
It's not just about the location, it's about the when
Yeah.
we
For the record, I'm John McCann. I would just like to bring up the point that Rich and Ken both made, and that this is the Transportation Committee. And given the way that this committee handled the previous voting, I think it would be unfair to not handle this vote in any different way.
You're saying that we should
You want us to be dead?
vote against it if we don't meet standards?
No, not saying that, like, I'm saying that, I'm saying, like, if the other one didn't pass, like, for the reasons that there's no standards, I think that this one should not pass for the other standards. And as well as the fact that this is a transportation committee, and that really, like, I believe that they should be focused on transportation issues and the epidemic. Like, frankly, the fact that our streets are dangerous more than naming streets.
Let me respond to that, okay? Ours, and I think other community board transportation committees deal with a host of issues, from the things that you're bringing up, to mass transit, to delivery problems, to truck and unloading problems, to secondary street namings. We run the gamut. To newsstand applications, should we not do those also? I mean, this is something a transportation committee does. Unfortunately, the fact some of these secondary street namings are controversial and they do take our time. But that's our charge. We have to do it. So I get what you're saying, but it's not to the, it doesn't mean we're not going to do the things that you're saying. It just means the meetings are going to be longer. That's all it means.
And as of next month, we're gonna have standards, so they're gonna go like this.
Right.
They normally don't.
Is there a motion? Or
Well, if you want to have discussion, I would follow it with a motion.
I second.
Okay, so,
All right.
so here's the thing.
I would like to explain why, because that's part of what happens here.
Okay, here's the
Well, no.
problem that we just explained. If it's tabled to next month, it won't be calendared for another few months, right?
Well, she didn't know.
Because the
Maybe.
vote is in June,
It may not,
it might be,
it may not be.
Maybe November, for all we know.
right.
Well, Marissa didn't know when.
Well, Eric is saying,
I said it maybe.
It's a council.
But I need to find out.
Can I make a statement for why I don't think it should be rushed through? Okay.
I'm not saying it should be rushed through, I'm just putting some
understand
facts
that,
on the table.
acknowledging the fact that it might be, that this might be delayed. That, and that I think Maggie Payton might be a fine person to have a secondary street.
Absolutely.
And in the case of the last one, notwithstanding any of the arguments about standards, there was overwhelming support from the community in terms of the person that was overwhelming support, not at 97th Street, but at 71st Street, to have this put in. In this case, we've gotten several letters from community representatives, local community representatives out of the Parkway, West Village, right on that area, who have one said that have said that this was proposed very fast by the council person, and they never met with their group, that they haven't had a chance to really consider it as local people, that they were opposed to it. They had some concerns, Richard talked about some issues of safety, especially on a corner here that's difficult. Personally, I don't understand how a secondary street, maybe if you have the regular street up there, makes it unsafe, but I think that we should be hearing from local people, and we know the local people who've been opposed to this, and that we should not come to a vote tonight. And that's why I'm saying the table, not for the purpose of having standards, but because we need to hear from the community to be able to support somebody who I think is a very good person. But I think we need to at least hear from the community, and if it takes another 6 months because of the timing and things, so be it. Maggie worked a long time. She can wait 6 months.
Maggie Payton was my neighbor for over 42 years, and she was well respected in the community, and at the same time, sometimes she wasn't liked in the community. However, for her choices, and that's honest. I think that with regard to what we just discussed, this whole issue about standards, she would be very much in favor, because this is who the person Maggie was. As far as our feeling was, and I got a lot of emails and a lot of discussion about it, was it didn't come to the community. The community didn't have a chance to voice their opinion. The community really cared about Maggie, and it's a process for us, and anybody who knows the folks up on the west side, is that we do these things because that's the way we work. We don't just say yes or no. We think about things and we work on it. So as far as tabling it for Maggie, I think as far as respect for the folks up there who really care about Maggie and they want to do something for Maggie, I think it should be tabled so we can really do something. So as we move forward with this, from this particular point on, we will give people the respect and the honesty that needs to be done for them, and not for someone else telling us this should be done.
So I think there's a motion to table, is that what I'm hearing from people?
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those opposed? All those everyone. Non-committee members? All those in favor of tabling? All those opposed to tabling? All those abstaining? Sure, okay.
I'd like to make a request with it, though it's not required, if this is put on the agenda for next month, the table motion is required to back to fall back to the agenda next month. But I would like to request to the chair that this item be put on the agenda.
I think we invited them tonight, but we will certainly do that right away.
Repetition.
It will be later on the agenda next month, these guidelines.
So, moving to the next item. You may recall, okay. So, you may recall that we went on a walking tour because of 585 West End Avenue's objections to the current location of the, I should say, temporary city bike stand relocation from 87th Street to the eastern end on the south side of 88th Street of Riverside to West End. We went out and we looked at the current stand, we looked at the clearances, we looked at a proposed relocation to the east side of West End Avenue on the northeast corner, which would not be in front of the main entrance of any buildings, and which is, as Drew very skillfully mentioned, I think, would be at the head end of a block and not the tail end of a block, thus allowing people to know this was coming before they turned onto the block. And actually is safer in many instances. But in any event, we went and we looked, and we did not take any action on this as of yet, but the residents of 585 are looking for us to do that, and so we're going to reopen the discussion with a possible proposal moving into the east side until, of course, its regular location on 87th Street, west of West End Avenue, is ready after the construction. Rich.
Just a quick question. I didn't see any signs on the way here, and I came on 88th Street saying that we were discussing this topic at the meeting. Like I said when we did the walking tour, I'm worried about that we're playing whack-a-mole. That when we moved it from 87th to 88th, or when DOT moved it, there were no signs either at 87th or at 88th, which meant that the people at 585 didn't know it was coming. They didn't have a chance to speak out. If we're talking about moving it again, but we haven't alerted people that we might be moving it, we're going to have the same issue. We're just going to end up dealing with.
Synagogue in one of those locations, and anecdotally, I met one of the people who fulfilled it, and they felt that was a major problem for them. We also had the possibility of removing parking from in front of the building, which would help with traffic flow, which is another solution that hasn't really been considered. So,
How does that help, like an accessorized vehicle or something that has to pull in?
oh, if there's no parking, accessorized is can go right
It
up to the
depends on
curb.
what DOT puts as the regulation, though.
Yeah. This all has to be looked into. Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah. There's the possibility of doing something to remove parking. It still puts it directly across the street from 585. The location is across West End Avenue, does not have any, does not have a street stop. It's at the head of a block. It allows anybody who's coming, if there is a jam up on the street for some reason, they can just not enter the block rather than jam it up coming through there. It seems to me that it's definitely a viable place, and it's something where the parking issue could be traded rather than using more parking spaces for the community. And I don't see a reason why we should unnecessarily take away something here. I do agree with the fact that the community, I believe, the reason we didn't hear it right away, or may have to do something right away, was the fact that the community hadn't been notified about that big change. And I question whether the community's been notified of it.
Yeah, I think that's what
I do think that the reasons and what's been presented are good enough that I would look to make a motion and a resolution that we approve the move to the east side of 88th Street. If there's a second, that would be fine, and I would immediately follow it with a motion to table it till next month so that the community could be notified, and we would actually have a resolution on the table and on the agenda to be voted on. Anybody else to discuss the motion that?
Well, why do we have to have a resolution? We'll just say we want to put it on the agenda for next month. We don't need a resolution.
So that's proposed in number
I'll
second.
second it.
Well, okay, then we'll
Resolution
speak
is on
to
the
that.
floor.
We don't need a resolution on this. In fact, we shouldn't have it. We shouldn't even be making a decision until we hear from the people who are going to be affected. And in a way, we're prejudicing our own vote.
But you don't need a resolution. So
So-
just pull it.
we don't need it.
The chair can take it and bring it to next meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to speak if I could. Sure. When I come up, because I took these bad pictures, because I want to address some of the things that I've heard committee members talking about. There's some discussion about removing the parking from in front of 585 to, so that there would be enough width. But I want to show you
What is
this.
your name?
I'm sorry, Drew Carey, DRUCAREY. Huh?
And you're a resident of
No, these are
585?
even, what?
You're a resident of
I'm
585.
585. Let's see. So the one about removing parking, I have two issues I just want to say about removing parking from in front of the building. One is, I think about the Constitution and how when you're going to like deprive people of rights and privileges, they always talk about least intrusive means, depending, and so that just seems the most intrusive restriction of people who live in the neighborhood, rather than, which I think would a lot be easier, to move it across West End Avenue onto the east. I don't know what you're calling the east.
On the east side of West.
Southeast corner.
East of West End Avenue.
On 88, we all know what we're talking about. So I just want to show you what happens. Okay, I'm gonna, who, for instance, who's the one who really thinks that we could remove parking from in 585? I'll pass it to you first. Okay, or maybe I'll show you.
And to be clear, you're saying that that's a constitutional right?
No, no,
Okay.
that's not clear. I thought I made it clear, but I'll make it clearer.
Okay.
Which is, the Constitution says that when you're going to deprive people of rights and privileges, you want to use the least intrusive means, right? In other words, you don't want to use a big hammer, if you can use a smaller one. So in the case of taking away parking, which of course, is a big issue in Manhattan, and one that I don't touch for a lot of different reasons, but it's certainly more intrusive than it would be to say, move the bike racks across the street. So it just affects people more than moving the bike rack, because then we've already lost a bunch of space parking with the bike racks, and now we would lose bike rack. We already have lost that, and then we'd lose presumably the exact same width of parking. So that seems more intrusive than necessary. That was my point.
Okay.
So let me show you what happens when here's the situation, this right here, where this blue moving van is. I'll show you both. See where the blue moving van is? That's where 585 is, right?
Mhm.
So somebody's moving in, and they were really smart and shrewd and came in probably during street cleaning so that they could park without double parking. So this is a not double parked vehicle. So that goes to how, if let's say there was no parking allowed, this moving van would park there because he should. So then here comes, let's say, Always Elevator Inc. Now notice he's going to make it through, isn't he? But why is he going to make it through? Can you see what's going on here? Can you see?
Looks like the truck's way over the line.
The truck has driven over the bicycle rack. Look at that. That's the same truck. Look where he is. These should be bikes here. So he, and here's some more pictures of it. Notice everybody is literally driving over the bicycle rack, over these standards, and parking. To why? To give everybody else, his fellow truck drivers, room down the street. So because he's parked there, this guy can get through.
But so if you had cars here instead of bikes.
Well, remember, you guys came and proved, which I was shocked. Somebody came and measured on the committee, but we were wrong. It's not 20 inches wider than a parallel parked car. In fact, this thing is like, I forget now, but 28 inches wider.
It's not true.
Well, whatever.
That's not what we said.
But my point is, if there were cars here instead of an empty bike rack, this truck would not be parked in the bike rack. It would be double parked, blocking.
Or he would have come early like he did and park on the street. He would have done the same thing, but he would have come early and park when the street cleaning was.
No, what I'm saying is this guy came early and parked. This guy parked where there otherwise would be parked cars.
Right.
Yeah, which
he couldn't do at all. But
yeah.
I guess I just want to jump, because I want to spend a long time. It's already did it last time. But what we're trying to say is now we've had a couple of months to see how it really works on our street, and this is how it works, and it's not working.
Okay.
And so that's, I just wanted you to see those pictures.
We're going to notice the block and figure out a solution. How's that sound?
I'm so new up to this committee that I've missed a few bike measuring moments. It seems to me I've seen the bikes actually on sidewalks in some places, like around the corner from the Petco.
Yeah. Talking about city bikes now?
City bikes,
Yes,
yeah.
there are some on sidewalks.
Can we somehow set a standard that says if the sidewalk is X amount of feet wide, everybody comes?
I think the DOT has those.
Okay, then I guess that.
None of the sidewalks in this vicinity would have met.
Yeah, that, I know that's a lot of sidewalks.
You know what? We'll notice now that.
Well, that is both blocks. Whatever we do is temporary, because that's not the main grandstand. Yes, Howard, you want to take the next one? Thank you.
Currently, the Columbus Circle, is there anyone here to discuss the bicycle route? State your name and state your cause.
I'll go first. I'm a smoker, and I would be in favor of having a protected through Columbus Circle.
Stand up so we can hear
And can you be a little louder, please? Yeah. Bill is Stelter, and I am here the Columbus Circle bike route through. It's pretty dangerous right now, and that's why I can't home. So I would love to see it.
Are you from Transportation Alternatives?
Well, I'm a resident. I do some volunteer work with Transportation Alternatives, but I'm not a state staff person. I'm mainly resident.
My name is Claire Brennan. I live on 83rd and Broadway and commute downtown to the east side, east side bike through Columbus Circle all the way around the circle. So that's the whole thing. There's no bike lanes there. Additionally, I do volunteer with Transportation Alternatives as the co-chair of the Manhattan Activist Committee. And this morning we had a ride with there were 12 community members. We there and we made a little stop in anticipation of this meeting and this discussion at Columbus Circle, and we were all kind of brainstorming and imagining what Columbus Circle could be for cyclists, certainly, but all community members, pedestrians. There's always a swarm of them coming out of the subway when I'm riding to work and home. I think that this is a really great opportunity, and I'm really excited that you all have decided to discuss this and bring it to the agenda. And I feel like I have some really behind people who are on the ride this morning. Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, and I know Howard knows, Columbus Circle is the purview of 3 separate community boards. Our board has 60th Street and North as our area of. That doesn't mean we can't make a recommendation to another board and if this issue.
I thought we went down to 59.
No, with the north side.
The north side of 59.
Columbus Circle, 60th Street.
We can make a recommendation here too.
And they would want to hear from the other.
We
two
could
boards.
also have a joint meeting with the other 2 boards, maybe.
So
I think that would be.
Can I ask the 2 speakers, when you're riding northbound to come home, what is the dangerous, like the most dangerous place that you're finding?
Well, I think there is both. But I only commute northbound, so I come up to the avenue, down to the circle, and then up Central. It's actually, every time I go through, I'm like, how did I do this? It's so scary. So yeah, it's like the one nail biting in front of me.
I said northbound because I assume folks that are going southbound would be on Columbus and 9th Avenue because that's a protected lane and you wouldn't actually hit Columbus Circle.
Right, and actually, southbound, thanks to being board, actually has been great because for those high areas, it's much safer now. But actually, I think there goes down Broadway through Columbus. So that's why you see the whole thing.
So I'm on Broadway. On the circle, my life.
I remember riding very safely to the east side, like the Central Park on the west side, but very well. The reason you choose to go to one circle is there's no danger.
I'm often a great shot to get to meet that people this morning were just well as season riding. It was a personal choice.
But you go down Broadway, you go down and then Broadway.
Broadway, not at CB6, but
That's CB.
Right.
And the other reason is that 8th Avenue is a protected bike lane. That's the major northbound route for cyclists. It's the protected bike lane until you get to Columbus Circle. I avoid Columbus Circle and 8th Avenue like the plague. But sometimes I have to do it, and I feel like they said I've taken my life in my hands. It's a heroin. I invite anybody on this board to try it.
Yeah.
But you're not walking in the middle of the street with cabs darting all around you, which is really, really scary.
Just try crossing sometimes, even if the
Yeah.
light and the cats are all trying to.
And I just want to say that the DOT, there is a comparable circle, in Brooklyn, Grand Army Plaza, which is actually more complex. It has many more roads converging, and they figured it out, and it's actually safe to get through. But it's safe to get through that very complex intersection. So,
We should set up a committee.
I don't know whether we actually need this. I mean, we may want to do that after we pass a resolution, but I think we as a board should be willing to say, we don't think this is safe, and we want the DOT to make it safe for cyclists. Otherwise, there's going to be blood on the street.
Okay, I used to ride my bike on the bike at the park, but as stopping and opening the door at point, I ran right into an open house.
Clearly, yeah, that really
requires some kind of exceptional resolution.
So I think if we have a resolution from the board saying we want this, we're in a stronger position talking to the other communities.
Mark?
I was wondering if it might, so the point I wanted to start with is even further south out of our district on 8th Avenue, the protected bike lane ends at about 57th Street. And then cyclists have to migrate from the left-hand side to the right-hand side to get through, to even get anywhere near what purports to be a painted bike lane in Columbus Circle. And if you're actually going to try to make things safer, and so where I was going with this is, I think we need more than just a plea to DOT to make this safer. I think we need some kind of an idea to tell them in what direction we should go. Personally, I think it involves changing the phasing of the lights, because I think that the first step to making this whole thing safer is to end that crazy migrating from left to right at 57th to 58th Street in front of all kinds of intercity buses as well as transit buses. And find a way to enter Columbus Circle from a protected bike lane on the left side, where, by the way, cyclists who are inclined to do so would be looking for it.
You mean the west side?
Correct. Yeah. It's up down, so yes. Or the port side, if you want that. And then using those flexible bollards to define a path that would make it safer. I'm not smart enough to know exactly what it is that would do this. But going to DOT saying simply this is unsafe, make it better, strikes me as.
So Mark, let me get something in my mind. If you do what you're suggesting and north of 59th Street, continue that protected bike area along the western curve of the circle, is that what you're suggesting? In front of the Time Warner Center, for instance?
Well, you can't do it there because that's a whole bus view.
Exactly.
And you're going counter.
Exactly.
But we're not talking about southbound through the west side of the circle.
No,
You're talking about that entrance where 8th Avenue comes in, the bus depot, if you will, the bus layover area ends at 8th Avenue.
So, is there a sign to tell cyclists when you arrive at 57th and 8th that you must change sides?
There is a painted, a now well worn out painted line on the road with a dotted line that goes across, which you can never see because the traffic there is usually so congested that even if one were looking for it and understood what it was when you saw it, that it's usually covered.
I've ridden it many times, and I just happened to be on the right side of the street, on the east side, saw the bike lane. I'm like, I was shocked that it was there because I never knew, having ridden north on the protected bike lane, that it shifted over.
Nikki, and then
There's also something else we're not talking about which we should take into consideration, and that is the huge police presence that is all around there, and how bicyclists, cop cars may double park all the time and just sitting there with nobody in them, so they're really just an obstruction. Plus the bollards that they put up around buildings. It's a very congested and dangerous area whether you're on a bicycle or you're on foot.
Thank you very much.
And how do we make it safe for everybody, walkers, bicyclists, people with strollers, with all of the stuff that the police department, we may have to not only talk to DOT, but talk to NYPD and say, how do we do this? You know, and I'm sure they're concerned about safety. For somebody in a God forbid to be riding by and something off the bicycle at the house or at the building. So there are those issues as well, and I think it just complicates it even more.
Okay, I want to say something.
And we want you guys to be safe.
Unless you want, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say, of course, I'm not a cyclist, okay? But as I walked in that area, and I've walked in that area for many, many years, it's dangerous. And I think one of the things that's going to happen, if we pass whatever resolution that's on this particular table right now, I think what needs to happen for all of the areas that are involved, because each of one of us sees things in a different way. And there needs to be more conversation as to what some other particular community board sees or what the police department sees and so forth. So coming together for folks to sit back and talk about what we see, we won't have to do the same thing over and over and over again. So I just throw that out as a possibility of just simply passing another resolution to do something, and it goes to another community board and they pass a resolution, another one pass a resolution, then the police department pass another. Why can't it be that folks can get together and just sit back and discuss things, possibly for an evening or two, and then people can get a wide view of what other people think about the situation, and then come to some kind of conclusion.
Well, to follow up on what Lillian said, what I'm proposing is that we adopt a resolution calling on the DOT, who does have responsibility for this area, to come up with a proposal for a safer circle, and then we all sit. It's much, the conversation is much more fruitful when you have something specific to react to. So that's what the resolution I'd like to propose. Roberta?
To add to that, maybe we could put in consultation with community board.
Yeah.
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
So we have something concrete.
So it can come from us, we can send a copy of it to 4 and 5. They're not gonna not agree with us.
Well, I'm just a little concerned about this getting watered down. So if we say a safer circle, when the original concern was that cyclists are risking their lives in the middle of this. So the focus
for cyclists, I think.
is that what you mean?
Well, I think we want something that, we want a plan that's gonna be safe for pedestrians, it's gonna have a safe path for cyclists, and it's gonna also actually use traffic flow. Have to do all three. We want a solution, and then it does all of it.
Okay, but the impetus for this was to save lives with cyclists.
That's why that's going to be the first one in that.
Right.
That's gonna be the
And what do we think about Mark's idea of guiding them a little bit? Saying, you know, that the current situation with cyclists moving from the west side to the east side without.
Oh, I don't intend to get into that in the resolution. It is totally unsafe now, and they need to come up with a safer design for the circle.
And they have tools in their toolbox.
Right.
Yeah, they're the experts, we're not.
So they should come up with lights.
And then we can react. As Lillian said, we all see it in a different way. You know, it needs something to react.
But we're asking them to consult with the other two communities.
We're asking them to come up with if they want information from the community, they won't be shy about it. They're going to come up with a proposal, and we won't be shy either in terms of giving them feedback.
I second.
All those in favor? 1, 2.
Mark, are you in favor?
We're not board members.
8, 9, 10. That's everyone.
Non-board
Non-board members? 2. Okay. We'll see what comes from that. Next. What do we have next?
I hope it comes a little faster than the
This is
22
something-
items will wait now.
This is something I've always wondered about, and it's more a question. There is a bike lane on Central Park West, which is there, and it is on the park side of the street, on the north side of the street.
You can't be on the north side.
It is on the side,
There you go.
heading south, sorry. And I just don't understand why the parking lane and that bike lane are not switched.
Going north.
I have,
Oh, okay.
it had something. Well,
You're in that bike lane, you better be going north.
Getting us off.
If you switch the bike lane and the parking lane, something I've always wondered about, maybe someone here has the answer. You would not lose one parking spot, and you would not change the usage of the street by 1 inch. And it would be so much safer for cyclists. Why don't they just switch it?
It would be a de facto protected bike lane.
Right. Yeah.
I believe DOT has told us that the street's not wide enough to do that. And
There's not one
He's
inch
talking
change.
about,
I'm just talking
well,
about
actually, the
swapping.
parking lane is wider than the allowable space for the bike lane, so it wouldn't be an equal split.
No, it could be, and you just.
You just make the smaller bike lane and put it next to the.
Exact width of the parking lane and swap them.
I don't know if they'll do a bike lane. Let's ask them.
Okay, well,
It's a good idea. I think they said that they can't because the width of the bike lane wouldn't be wide enough. But
So the two reasons why they said they wouldn't do it, at least last one, in my conversation with Margaret Fortione, which is now superseded because she's superseded. But the two reasons why, after my pleas to her to do something like this on Center Park West, were A, that it's not wide enough such that it would provide protection to a car door opening and create a false sense of security for cyclists.
Well, that's true.
And, and the other was that there's a bus line that runs up that, and so you would have a bike lane running through a bus stop. I don't personally think that either of those are reasons not to do it, but that's what Margaret said. But actually, the car door issue is much less of a problem if you swap it, because most cars just have a driver. So
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm relating information.
So
But
why
it's-
don't
it's
you
very
counter
true,
that?
that's-
Well, why don't we just write?
Well, we can-
Why don't you
I
write a
think
letter?
You would have the buses all coming.
Why don't you just write a letter?
Yeah. And I think that's not.
as opposed to
but
crossing it.
It's less unsafe than the
Why don't you just write a letter?
Yeah, I think that's what we want to do.
Okay, so we'll look at
And now we go back to
that.
Unless,
We have number 8.
no.
I thought that was
eight is
number
off,
8.
I said.
Oh, 8 is up.
Mark has, Blazer has some new business, then we can.
Well, no, let's go back to the agenda.
8 is off because Lillian told it.
Let's
Could,
go back
could I
to
just
the
ask,
agenda.
back to 6, what the exact resolution was? I have resolution calling on DOT to come up with a proposal to make Columbus Circle safer for cyclists and pedestrians.
Cyclists,
Cyclists,
pedestrians,
pedestrians, and the movement of vehicles.
movement.
I
Yeah,
just put first in
it
that.
already accomplishes that.
Well, safer for it, we say.
Yeah, quick items or what?
Yeah, they are very quick. The first item is a follow-up on the church committee.
Now, I looked at that. There was a no standing anytime sign to the east of the church, and then you have the parking regulations sign at the western end of the church, so you don't need another no parking. You wouldn't have a no parking anytime there, you just resume the regulations, so.
Okay, that's fine, I understand it. The other thing was, Dominic asked again about paper streets, 8th Street. Dominic Cial from the street.
The solid?
The solid.
Community Fairfield?
Yeah, he's asked again, if he can have a booth at a
We give the 20 precinct community council booths all the time, all fair to, I'm sure.
15,
And that doesn't, we don't.
They brought it up at the
Sign on that.
breakfast. So you can see that, Justin?
He knows where.
They
we
can set up a table for.
But he can't just set it up, he needs the sponsors okay to set something up, so that we
That's
put
right.
in place to it, but he knows that.
Apparently he doesn't, so I told
I'll
him.
call down.
Alright.
Yeah.
Real small new business thing. I saw 2 auxiliary police officers, I believe from the 24th precinct, on bicycles, which is, in my mind, great. And I think we should send a letter to the precincts doing 2 things. One, commending them for having officers on bicycles. And second, these bicycles did not have lights and they were riding at night, saying like, whatever it takes, we'll pay for lights, we'll go to a bike store, but we really recommend that they use lights for
So
these
how would
bikes.
anyone know they were coming? You would,
Yeah, they had a light on that helmet, that's what's up.
did they have helmets like?
No, I don't think so. So if we could send a letter or figure out some way to get them lights. It was a 2-4, but
I think there's some restaurants might give them lights.
yeah, or bike stores, or there are lights to be had. We just
Yeah, I'm really, but we should send a letter actually. All right, Roberta?
Okay, so, on the district needs statement, I heard from nobody. I didn't hear from any. How's that for better?
The first one was more,
Yeah. I guess we
So
all
can
agree.
I assume that everybody's in agreement that whatever in the present district needs statement is fine?
we have worked on that a great deal in the
I know
previous
we
year,
did,
so
I just wanted to make
that
sure.
could be why you didn't hear from anybody.
Okay, as long as that's fine, that's fine with me. Okay, have people had a chance to look at, if you turn to, I don't know what page this is, this transportation at the top?
Yeah, I looked.
Yes, I looked at it, and I think, there's a couple of things that could be added.
All right,
I think we want in there that residents of the west side are entitled to adequate enforcement concerning double parked vehicles, both delivery vehicles and double parked cars. We expect our streets to be able to be free of these impediments to throughput.
so adequate enforcement of
Double parking
double
regulations.
parking.
And can we ask you that, not only double parking, but streets where no commercial vehicles are supposed to be allowed?
And enforcement of
Enforcement of that.
non-commercial street regulations. I have one more. Ken.
Okay,
Okay.
Unless you
wait,
want to
wait,
speak to what I just said.
Wait, I write slow.
No, I'm not,
Non-commercial
I'm just
street.
commenting.
Okay, I'm ready.
We're saying we want enforcement of double parking, but because of our defense of people being allowed to park for free anywhere on the curbside, we're providing delivery people no place to actually park legally, and so we're putting them in a double bind.
Not so.
So, no, Central Park West, there is no
I'm
place.
not talking about that.
No,
I'll use our commercial avenues as an example. DOT has put in increased numbers of loading zones for commercial vehicles. And you know what those commercial vehicles do? If their delivery is to the opposite side of the street, you think they go into that loading zone? No, they double park on the side of the street that they're making deliveries on. And that's what we need enforcement against.
so then maybe we could change what you're saying and say where legal parking is available for delivery. And, the rules
I added
should-
on commercial
the rules should be
avenues.
enforced.
Yeah.
On commercial.
Yeah.
I added on
Okay.
commercial.
Okay.
The other thing they do, which is really sweet, is they don't park at the curb where there's a loading zone, they double park, so they don't get parked in by somebody else. So you get the space, you get the vehicle in the middle of the street, and then Broadway becomes a one-way street. So-
one lane.
Yeah, one-lane street.
The other thing I wanted to add was something that we have gotten some requests for from a lot of different quarters, which is residents and visitors are entitled to accessible transportation options throughout the Upper West Side. Many of our stations are not accessible. All of our buses are, but our stations are not. Not all of them are able to be made accessible.
Okay, you want to say that again?
Residents and visitors to the west side, Upper West Side, are entitled to accessible transportation options. So as many accessible transportation options as possible.
You say ADA compliant, so accessible.
Okay, but, well, ADA compliant,
A little bit of a higher standard.
well, but see where you can't do that, like on all of the stations along Central Park West due to private property and other and space issues and everything. That sort of gives them an out, so.
So what I'm putting in parentheses is to accessible, and then in parentheses, ADA compliant where possible. Okay. So residents and visitors are entitled to accessible.
Wherever possible, accessible public transportation or ADA compliant. Accessible, I think. That's it.
accessible. I think
Absolutely.
it's, only because if you can still make it accessible, then that is fine.
What agenda put the ADA?
Otherwise, we had gone over this,
Yeah.
I think, the previous year, and it's pretty much, yeah.
I had a few. I think generally it gives bicycling really short shrift and doesn't treat it as a legitimate alternative. I just had 3 proposed changes.
Where?
One
What
is
page are
in,
you on?
this is the transportation.
No, I know, but 6 or 7.
I just printed out the,
What bullet?
it's number 2.
Okay.
Uh,
Every
it
person
says
feels safe.
Ever person, I correct the typo.
Yeah.
Every person. Right now it reads every person feels safe and is safe riding a bike in designated zones for bike.
You want to take the designated
I would
zones out.
say it should be safe to ride a bike on all the streets in our district.
So every person feels safe
I think that's
and is safe riding a bike.
Throughout the district.
Should we decide which streets they should and shouldn't feel safe?
Right.
Perhaps.
No,
We
I
should have
think
streets
that's
where you
not
ride
right.
bikes and streets where you don't.
Well, we don't.
Should we have the same for pedestrians?
Bicyclists are allowed to ride.
But you know what, if
I
you're
know that
riding,
that's-
if I left my house to get to the Columbus Avenue protected bike lane, I would be forced to either walk my bike 6 blocks or I could ride my bike. And I would like to feel safe riding my bike to a protected bike. So I don't ride a bike anymore because I don't feel safe.
Would be too much to say that everything feels safe.
Well, why don't I have a suggestion.
Not everyone's a driver.
Every person feels safe and is safe, safely riding a bike, which implies that they're not breaking.
Do we want to say in pedestrians shouldn't jaywalk?
How about
I think what Ken proposed is simple.
How about bicyclists should stop at every red light?
I think safely,
Well,
I think safely implies.
These are our aspirations.
Yeah, so we don't want to get into the micro details.
We're not telling people how to ride their bike.
Yeah.
We're just saying that cyclists should
No,
be
he's
safe
finishing
on
up.
our streets.
But
And
I think
that's
you-
our
I
aspiration.
think you have to add to the fact that we work with cyclists or whoever we need to work with, to make sure that cyclists also behave safely on the street.
Do we want to say the same about pedestrians?
Yes,
But-
absolutely.
So we want to say,
It goes for
we
everybody.
want to caution them about jaywalking?
Yes, they should not walk.
Mickey, I think that's a separate issue though.
Just point of information, there is a massive, it goes on for hundreds of pages, code of New York City regarding use of the street. We're not repeating it here again. There are all sorts of rules regarding cyclists, all sorts of rules regarding vehicles, all sorts of other rules. We are not reiterating them here. That's not our statement of goals. Statement of goals, one big priority of this committee should be safety. And I think that's worth putting in there. Reiterating the traffic code. Good.
I don't know if this is appropriate or even something that this particular committee has considered, but we are an aging community. Just look around us. Okay? No, I'm serious about
Speak for
this.
yourself.
I'm great.
I think we should put in, everyone feels young and is young.
What I'm saying is this, when we are considering situations, especially when it comes to buses, when we're considering the whole point of public transportation, when we are considering lighting and otherwise, for the most part, the Upper West Side, again, is an aging community. And I don't really see anything in here that's really looking at the factors of how can we, and again, this may not be for tonight, but to think about how can we accommodate those seniors or those of us who are having a delightful time, as far as walking, as far as, you know, we play ring around the rosies with the seats when we get on the bus, because it depends on how, I guess, how unable or whatever you are. Some folks some folks will get up and say, you can sit down because you seem like you need a seat worse than I do. Okay, and this is something that has not been looked at as far as I can see within this community. It was,
So I think we want to rewrite this. Vulnerable street users are supported and protected by all other users. All street users form together a culture of mutual respect and protection.
That's
I
good.
think that should be expanded.
And we
I
just
think that
added
should be
something about
expanded.
accessible public transportation.
It definitely
Yes.
needs to be increased as far as accessible transportation, because it's like, it's unbelievable getting on those buses. You have, and people are really very nice and they're extremely polite, but we don't have the transportation with the buses and also with the trains. It's a given, yes?
I just want to support you. I think two things. One is, I think we should have something specifically calling out our aging population,
Yes.
saying that there are two issues. One is, and the biggest one is safety, because we know that the aging population is most at risk on our streets. So I think we want to specifically spell that out. And second is accessibility. And I would also point out, as the father of two young daughters, that safety for children is also an imperative.
I'll point out something I read recently. That children until the age of 14 are not safe crossing streets with cars on them because they can't judge the speed and distance of the cars.
You mean children alone,
Children crossing
on their own.
well,
Dan, why don't you say what you, I've been waiting to say.
The issue of everyone feels safe and is safe riding a bike. The position for us to have in designated zones for bike actually is an error. We ruled that out the last time, actually, your suggestion, 3 or 4 years ago. Because designated zones would basically be, well, designated zones would be riding bike lanes, and you don't have to be safe riding anywhere else, and that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
And how do you
I
get to
think
those
that Nikki's notion here, that everyone feels safe and is safe riding a bike, ridden in compliance with the rules of the road, or the rules of the road is reasonable.
I think this.
To ask for it and to have that qualification. Right now, we come on different kinds of streets. We have different ways. I see no reason why a cyclist can't ride the right way under the street. That's why we should be making all kinds of efforts to make them safe riding the wrong way on the street. I don't see why we should make them safe when they go through red lights. They're not supposed to at this point.
Nobody said that.
That's an issue for how I feel, and that's why I think that riding and compliance with the law. And if you get hit by a car because you went through a red light because you weren't careful enough, that's really a shame. That's really a shame. It's really terrible. At the same time, I don't think we should say that that the person riding the bike should feel safe and be safe doing that. I don't think so.
I'm gonna say something really fast. These are core principles, they're generalities, they're just general statements, guiding principles for us. And safety, this is just basically a general statement in favor of safety, sorry, and that's what I wanted to say.
What I think what we're all saying is that there's a certain aspirational content here, and that we aspire to safe streets for bicyclists, for pedestrians, and for cars. If we say that, and that we aspire to a higher level of participation in the rules of the road, maybe that's all we need to say, because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about everybody behaving. Now, that's never going to happen. I know that, but we can
And
aspire
pedestrians
to.
bear some responsibility too.
Pedestrians, my God,
I'm
they
the
jump
worst.
up behind, from between cars wearing dark clothes in the middle of the night.
I'll take the
phone.
chair's prerogative. I like what Nikki said, that one aspiration is safety and another aspiration is that people comply with the law. There are two this is aspiration.
And then I think that kind of covers everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right,
That's right.
nobody's mad?
No,
Okay.
no, I just had one.
But that doesn't mean Sue won't snap at you in a moment.
But then
It's
I'll
not
apologize.
9:30 yet.
Okay, and I'll say it's all right.
That's how we do it.
You'll
Yes.
call
So
it a
you want to
snap
add
or
when walking in compliance with
That's great, yeah.
and for cyclists when riding in compliance with the law.
So
No, I think they're.
I think what Mike said was.
I think it is very simple. It's not about complying with rules of the road.
All right.
Wait a minute, I said I had two things. And this is along the same lines. This is the fourth one from the bottom. Right now, it reads,
Bottom line, the first one.
He's only got one thing.
Oh, we only have one preference.
So it says preferences given?
preferences given, right.
Okay, go ahead.
And the last sentence reads, encourage multiple riders in all cars, bike riding where it is safely done. I think we should eliminate that. We want to encourage bike riding everywhere, not just where it is safely done. We already said we think the district should be safe.
Well, but
So-
by the same token, somebody said, do you want to encourage bike riders to go against the traffic on some streets? No, it's where it's
I think
safe.
that sentence is badly
That-
written.
But that's back to Howard's point.
It's a badly written
We're-
sentence.
We're not including the code. And bike riding the wrong way is,
When we talk about cars driving, we're not saying driving on the right side of the road, we're assuming that they're driving on the right.
Why
side
don't
of the
we, that whole sentence needs,
Yeah.
there's no,
I mean,
It's
I would
very-
take that clause out
I would say
And-
encourage,
and put in after non-polluting mass transit and bicycles. In other words, preference should be given
yes.
to non-polluting mass transit and bicycles, because they're non-polluting.
You want to encourage multiple riding on bikes?
No, but it's done.
Lily,
Basically, I think we should have public transit, public private vehicles, which include bicycles.
Okay, it is. It
And they
still
become,
is.
and they become more and more non-polluting.
It is. It already is. You have to walk. I know this may or may not be part of what you want to do, but I think you need to give it some thought. Again, we're an aging community, we're a young aging community. But I think we talked a great deal about cyclists, and we talked a great deal about the younger population. Again, if we look at the percentages with regards to mass transportation and the people who really need it so they can be more mobile, I think that something needs to be done by DOT or whoever else is involved to look at how can we make mass transit more accessible and more convenient for the aging, for everybody, but with special,
we added the accessibility factor in these now, really, and I don't know if you missed that.
Okay.
We did that.
all right.
Yeah,
Where is that in the transit part? Where did that go?
Roberta, what number did you put that?
I made that, actually, what I did is it says, 1, 2, 3, it says every person has easy, affordable access to efficient public transportation, and then I added residents and visitors on the Upper West Side are entitled to accessible, in friends, ADA compliant where possible public transportation.
So so if I may, that covers the public transit part of Lillian's point. And I sketched out a thought, which if you'll entertain it, I'll propose, and it would read something like this: that deference should be paid in planning and the allocation of the public realm to those with mobility and accessibility challenges.
Thank you. That's very good.
What
Thank
is
you.
that? Say that again?
Deference should be paid in planning and the allocation of the use of the public realm to those with mobility and accessibility challenges. So Lillian covered, and Roberta just covered the transit part of it. I'm covering the sidewalk and the crossing of the street part.
accessibility and what challenges?
Mobility and accessibility challenges.
Okay.
And as a person who recently experienced mobility challenges, yeah, mine looks just like yours.
You'll hand me a copy of that.
As a result of riding a bike.
Yes, sir. And avoiding a jogger.
Mistake I'll never make again. Okay.
It's the second one. The first one I think you already
Anybody
covered.
else? Rich?
I would say that enforcement should be focused on issues that are most likely to reduce injuries. And I'm specifically saying this because we've heard that virtually all the injuries are caused by motor vehicles, but a lot of enforcement is of bicycles. And I know people are going to object to this, but I think that when we're enforcing bicycles that are going slowly, running a red light when there are no cars or pedestrians around, at the expense of enforcing motor vehicles that are speeding or running red lights or failing to yield, we're not doing what we can
I don't
to.
think it's either or.
I do, because you can't be set up to do both. You're either set up to get bikes, and granted, if bikes are acting dangerously in a way that they're riding through groups of pedestrians, or endangering themselves, that's one thing. If you're getting bikes going slowly, that when there are no cars or pedestrians around, and focusing on that to get numbers, you're not doing what's needed to be done to enforce.
When you say bikes that are going slowly, you mean bikes that are going slowly, but ignoring a red light, for instance?
Yes.
Yeah, rolling through a red light.
Okay, can I enforcement focus on issues that impair pedestrian safety?
Well, vulnerable street users.
Pedestrian safety, that covers it all.
I wouldn't limit it to pedestrians or cyclists. That
Right.
We do. Remember I gave you the points about the double party fee?
Really?
Enforcement that is proportionate to the danger posed.
Yes.
I would say focus enforcement on motor vehicles in ways to reduce crashes and injuries.
I
Well,
would
no, the
keep it
one you gave me
simpler, like,
was about double park vehicles and commercial street.
Yes.
So we want to add to this, so enforcement.
I think
Enforcement.
Howard's
I would say
statement-
enforcement-
I think Howard's statement,
Wait, let-
keeping it simple for just enforcement.
Howard,
Can you say
somebody
again
give
for
it to
pedestrian
Oh,
safety?
enforcement focus on issues that impair pedestrian safety.
And that's it, I wouldn't qualify it any further, the police can figure out how to do the job, we can, if we say that, then we can be asking the city council and the government to do what is necessary to make pedestrians safe in that regard, have whatever enforcement is needed in order to make that happen. And I think that's fine.
But these are working.
I disagree in two ways. One is, I don't think it should just be pedestrians. I think it should be all street users, pedestrians, motorists, and cyclists. Second, we know the data shows that it's motor vehicles. And if we're not explicit in saying that motor vehicles, we need to focus enforcement on motor vehicles.
We're not the only ones who know that, the police know that too.
Yeah, but they're hearing a lot that they need to crack down on bikes. And so they're disproportionately.
Don't forget, these are our,
You could
these
call
are
principals.
these are
You can also
guidelines
tell
for
them,
us,
well,
so when we're writing a resolution or we're working on something, this is what we go back to kind of make sure that.
Why don't we say enforcement focused on reducing deaths and injuries on the street? Safety, pedestrian safety is.
Okay, I can take out, with that focus, enforcement focus on issues that affect safety.
But that's very vague. Enforcement that prioritizes reducing deaths and injuries on the street. How could we be against
Let me
that?
read it.
We're against it, that's why I say we're going beyond that when we talk about
We
safety,
want-
we're including that.
Okay, the simplest way I can say is enforcement focuses on encouraging safety.
I agree with Ken that we have a very specific goal, reducing deaths and injuries.
That
This is
vision
not
one.
telling the police, this is
That's vision.
what Roberta just said. This is our,
Right.
what we're aspiring to.
It's city policy.
That's a vision one.
It's city policy to reduce deaths and injuries. We should be in alignment with city policy.
Well, that statement is in alignment.
The police could look at that and say,
The police
you
aren't
know,
looking at this. This is, we're looking at this. We're not sending,
Right.
we're not saying this. This is our internal document
Well,
that will help us when we write a resolution
Our
like
top
the
two
Columbus
items
Circle.
talk about every person feels safe and is safe. Under that is to talk broadly about safety, not only talking about enforcement when people in town. We should be broad in our principles, the same way we're being broad about feel safe.
Cars and people, electric bikes, lots of things happen to people, but let's keep it vague.
Okay, I will write this up. I will send it in.
Great.
I thank you all very much. This is the first book to work on, I work with principals. This year.
See what the
We'll see what the-
Yeah, you get ice cream for that. You want ice cream for that?
So are we not doing district needs?
we just,
We just,
So what's, so this is both working principles and district
no,
needs?
district needs we did last month. And everyone that had anything to,
Okay.
was supposed to submit something to me or to Andrew a week ago, and we got nothing, and I asked everybody if that was okay. They all said yes, they all had something.
Started off with the same thing.
There is a little piece of good news on for beleaguered C and J train riders. C train, which is our neighborhood, which is that the new R179 cars, which have been delayed by Bombardier, will be arriving a little earlier than we thought. So you might see some well, there already are some new trains on the C line, but the replacement of the oldest cars in the entire MTA system, the R32s, are going to happen earlier than we expected. So
When is it?
later this year, you'll start to see some R179s. That look sort of similar to the new.
Will they fix some problem by the time?
Yay.
You're going to hear a lot more about the signal problem in the next month. It's a real problem. After the Con Ed problem at 7th Avenue, they're looking at all of those similar kinds of Con Ed facilities throughout the city. Yeah, yeah. Some of this is not even MTA's fault, but it affects everybody.
Motion to adjourn?
Wow.
Andrew, we have
8:35.
This is what I'm talking about. And just switch these two, not choose one. You know what?
So